metering remains one of the most pressing issues confronting Nigeria's electricity sector. Among others, lack of sufficient metering leads to estimated billing by discos, which ultimately leads to unpaid receipts by customers, key source of liquidity deficit in Nigeria's electricity supply industry. Joining us to talk about the power sector is Telecoms and Energy Consultant Nseyo Mark Ibekwe. Mr. Ibekwe, you're very welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
What are some of the main issues facing our meter access program that we have right now?
Humongous issues.
I can imagine.
I will tell you. I was involved in this project for from March.
Yes.
Yes. The metering project here in Lagos with EKEDC. Then project managing for a particular vendor. And from an insider perspective, I've seen the challenges. But despite these challenges in project management, we have project constraints. You won't allow constraints not to allow you to deliver on your project. But there is a way that these constraints could be reduced.
Okay.
Now, one of the challenges is this. If you look at, I was in Ijesha.
Here in Lagos, right?
Yes, rolling out meters.
Okay.
We went to a particular street. This compound is mapped, the other one is not mapped. The other one is mapped, this other one is not mapped. And I begin to ask, why all this?
Yes.
If you're mapping and you do a meter rollout and federal government has supported it, if you don't have enough consultants or if the staff of EKEDC cannot map properly or adequately,
yes,
then get vendors to map.
So the vendors will assist them in being able to
assist
do that.
them in doing it so that as vendors are going to a particular street, they're rolling out, they're metering everybody.
Right.
And then another situation whereby you map some houses, you don't map the other one, and then in the houses that you map, you lump everybody together. There should be proper assessment whereby, for example, you get into a compound whereby you have 4 or 5 flats,
yes,
and then these people, you ask them, would you people like to be metered individually? If they say they want to be metered individually, you meter them individually. I'll give you an example. I visited a friend in Abuja, living somewhere in Masaka. Yeah. This is a small compound with studio apartment.
Yes.
Self-contained, just a parlor, a room, toilet, small room just for bachelors.
Yes.
And there are 14 apartments in that compound with 14 prepaid meters.
Wow.
14 prepaid meters. So, but you go here, go to some places here when I was involved in the project, you see a compound with about 6 flats having 2 accounts.
And those, okay, yeah, when we say 2 accounts, those, right, so 2 paying accounts for 6 units, when it should be 6 units. It should be 6 accounts for 6 units.
There's 2 paying accounts. 2 paying accounts had existed.
Right.
And now, because now what they do now is that they map on existing accounts.
Which under reports what is already there.
You understand? The way it's supposed to be is now you want to roll out. You go to these compounds, you find out, okay, how many of you guys are living here? Oh, 4 apartments. Okay. If there was 2 accounts initially, then you have 4 apartments or 6 apartments here. You create a new account for them. It's not a rocket science.
What about this issue of tenants leaving unpaid bills and moving out of?
Good one that you've come to this.
Yes.
Good one that you've come to
Someone else comes
this.
in and they meet a bill when they get there.
Good one that you've come to this. I think the power companies, probably if there's no law, maybe our Senate Committee on Power or the House Committee on Power, they have to look into issues like this.
Right. Is that a data problem? You think that's a data issue where if I move out of a place, I leave a bill there, you move in, and now it's your bill. Data that should be traced back to me. Is that how do we?
I think they have to scale up this. They have to tweak their system in such a way that if somebody lives here, we are having BVN, national identity numbers, and all that now.
Yeah.
Somebody lives and abandon a bill. There should be a punishment for it. Just like if you climb into a NEPA on top of a NEPA pole, and then go maybe connect yourself if you have been disconnected, or you temper your meter. Yeah. There are laws guiding things like that. Then we need to tweak our laws to take care of this issue, because I give you a typical example. I was in a compound in Sulere where we went to install prepaid meter. There was a particular apartment that was mapped for it, and when I talked with the landlord said, the person that lived here had left this compound for almost 2 years now.
Wow.
And I'm just coming back to refurbish this apartment. And now that apartment, somebody's going to live there. And there's a meter that is coming there.
With a bill.
And now there's an outstanding bill hanging about 200,000 naira.
Wow.
So these are issues EKEDC, the power companies, they have to look into it. If somebody abandons a bill, are we going to lose empathy to say, oh, fine, the guy have absconded. Okay, let's start new. Because I saw a guy who complained to me bitterly and said, Mr. Ibekwe, I'm taking over 200,000 naira in this account. And then you guys are coming to meter me. What am I going to do? Is there a way for me to bypass it? Is there a way? I told him, I don't think there is a way.
Right.
Because the way it is done is that as loading, they are taking part of that outstanding.
Right.
But then now, if somebody abandons a bill and you're coming to live in a compound and you take up a bill, no, we cannot continue that way. We have to tweak this system. EKEDC, the power companies, they have to look into these issues.
Is it a supply issue as well in not being able to scale as many meters as possible across the country? Is that part of the problem?
I wouldn't say it's part of the problem.
Okay.
I want to appeal to the power companies. I want to appeal. If the federal government has decided to subsidize meter rollout, please, let's roll out. I've been in the telecom industry for almost about 15 years now. And then I remember when we were doing rollout. I tell you, sometimes I don't sleep because we're having target.
And you have to meet those targets.
Yes, I remember when we were building 40 sites a month.
Right.
We're running this site, sometimes we work night and day.
So if you put that kind of effort into the meter parcel program, then you should be able to scale them.
We have a lot of young people to install prepaid meters.
Young people looking for jobs.
Looking for jobs, and to install a prepaid meter is not a rocket science. It's something if I put you through within 30 minutes, a young man can do it.
Right.
3-phase meter, single-phase meter, it's not a rocket science.
Right.
You bring the neutral, you bring the live, you connect to it, and then you connect the load. It's not a rocket science.
I get you. Let me ask you this. I guess on the other side of the equation, how can the average Nigerian save out-of-pocket costs for paying for power? Any tips you want to share on that?
Yes. So many tips.
Yep.
So many tips. Most important thing is this: check your light. Do analysis of your power appliances.
Okay.
If you are using bulbs that are energy consuming, use energy saving bulbs. I remember when I was young, my elder brother used to train birds.
Yeah.
There are those bulbs that you use so that birds can feel warm.
Right.
100 watt.
Birds, right? As in birds?
Yes, poultry.
Okay, poultry. Okay,
yes.
Okay, got you. I want to make sure I heard you correctly.
Yeah. So,
okay.
There are bulbs that you can use, 20 watt, 30 watt, that will give you the same illumination.
Yeah. Gotcha.
100 watt bulb. So if you're using 100 watt bulb, 10 of them, you're spending 1,000 watts.
Right.
And then power is calculated in kilowatt hour.
Right.
So, but if you reduce it to 20 watt bulb times 10, that's 200 watt.
Right.
You save 800 watts. So now, if you want to accumulate this over a month, if you own a compound, a big compound, let's say a business parastatal that you're paying so much on power, you know that over time you've saved so much of money. So it's important. You check your light, you change them to LEDs. Secondly, check your compound. Check the way, talk to your mates, talk to people that live in your house, talk to people in your business premises. You need their cooperation. If somebody's leaving the office, turn off your computer.
Gotcha.
If you're going out to work,
turn off the lights.
Turn off the lights.
Don't leave the AC on.
Don't leave the AC on. What's the sense?
Right.
Take it as a check. You check, do a check, turn them off. If your freezer, everything is frozen, put it off.
Gotcha.
And then you can use timer switch too. If you're having laziness in your compound, just install timer switch. What does the timer switch do?
Automatically?
Yeah, it's automatically, it has a timer. If you program it from this time, let's say by 6:30 in the morning, it has to switch off the security light, it will switch them off. So over time, you'll be saving energy. And then look into appliances. If you're changing your appliances, changing your AC unit, if you ask the vendors, they will tell you there are ACs that are energy saving. Remember some that we used to use in telecom facilities. If you see those containers you have in base stations, when we did energy mix with solar, there are some ACs that we bought. These are energy saving ACs. So if you're changing ACs in your apartment, ask your vendors, the ones that are energy saving. Over time, you see, it will save you energy. And then another thing is that check your connections in your house.
Okay.
Try as much as possible to avoid sparks.
Those are scary.
Yes.
Those sparks are scary.
Proper insulation. Do proper insulation on your appliances.
Yeah.
They are very, very important. Very, very important. Absolutely very, very important.
You mentioned solar just a second ago.
Yeah.
We were talking before you came on air. You were in the northern part of the country where you saw the impact of renewable energy. Can you describe that for us? For the viewers?
I was in Carriage and Tulu in Arewa local government of Kebbi State.
Okay.
I went there to build a site for one of the telecom companies. And I saw something that I fell in love.
Yeah.
80 kilowatt taking charge of 500 homes in this community. Prepared.
Okay.
Prepared. A typical peasant farmer in a remote community can buy 1,000. Some of them buy 1,500 and they enjoy their life. I stayed there for 1 month and I never had power outage. And then in the north, I've been in the north for some 7 years now. In the north, we have several thousand of standalone communities.
Yes.
Several thousand of standalone communities that you can deploy this. In the north, you can be on the road and you take bike like 2 hours into the bush and then you discover a community that has about 300 homes.
Right.
And some of these communities, maybe in the next 10 years, the distribution companies may never go there.
Right.
Because the problem we're having in this country is that the distribution companies are not interested, are not so eager in going to virgin clusters. Virgin clusters are where there's no power.
Right.
I remember in the telecom industry, we are always going to where there is no telecommunication network.
Right.
But this is different from the power companies. That is why I'm saying that if we have a kind of a competition, if we break loose from this territorial monopoly,
okay,
and then let's say we have CADCO, we have ANAMCO, we have EKEDC, we have EDC. Then EDC comes in, build infrastructure to uptake the existing clusters, and then building infrastructure to go to virgin clusters.
Is there a renewable energy mix in there as well? Is that part of the equation? As in between the existing, the grids, and so on and so forth?
It is possible if we tweak our laws.
Okay, fine.
Let's say, for example, and you decide to say, I have money to take some part of Ijesha, and then you have land to install 200 kilowatt.
Of solar panels or
solar
whatever.
Panels, about 100 solar panels,
right.
which about 60 by 60 meters of land, you can install that. And then you decide to, I want to do an energy mix. And then somebody living in Ijesha, and you decide to say, okay, my own is costing this way. Somebody may decide to say, I'm going to be using the ECO.
Okay.
Giving me renewable energy, and it's cheaper.
Right.
And over time, you see that the distribution company will start bringing down
their costs.
Their costs.
Right.
Their cost per kilowatt hour. And then by the time you bring into this kind of you breaking from territorial monopoly, where you have another distribution companies installing their 11 kV line, installing their 450 volt line in the street. Let's say on the street, you have 11 kV line on this side of the street, of the road. I can have the other one on the other side of the road. It's not a rocket science.
Right, right.
I told somebody the other day, if I'm a president, if I were a president, what I will do is that if I step into power, I will say Nigeria will need an energy summit.
Immediately.
We need an energy summit immediately. I'll bring in investors all over the world. Sit them down. How much are we going to need? And I tell you, I'm going to support that kind of borrowing, even though we are borrowing 30 trillion to say, come, we are breaking loose from territorial monopoly.
Because it's borrowing that has an impact.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because most of the companies that have moved away, they are going to move back because you can't run industries on diesel. I know we put in humongous amount of money into the power sector, but I must tell you, I'm not being cynical about it. But I wonder if we are going to break loose or if we are going to get a headway with territorial monopoly.
Mr. We've run out of time. Great conversation. We'll have to have you back to talk about this one. Nseyo Mark Ibekwe, Telecoms Energy Analyst. Thank you so much for talking about the meter answering program, renewable energy, and so on and so forth. We appreciate your insights.
Thank you for having me.